in just a little while we'll take you on a tour. Back over here you'll see the storehouses, you'll see the granaries. You'll get a sense of what was up here. It's absolutely staggering. When you come up here for the first time, it's hard to imagine how you could last up here a week, much less years and years. It will be explained to you here how they got water up here, how they had so much water here that they actually had a swimming pool down that way. Two swimming pools. And there would be a time the Jews up here at the top of Masada would go swimming, and they would walk along the parapets there with their towels, we would say, so the Romans down there in the desert with no water can see them up there going swimming. That's the capacity they had here. However, there's a spur of rock. It's on the far side, you'll see it when we get there, that comes up maybe 2/3 or so of the way up. The Romans were able to build that up into a kind of a ramp that made it possible for them to get armaments up. As they started building that ramp up, the people at the top of Masada could throw rocks down and shoot at them and things and make it impossible for them to build the ramp. So then they went back to Jerusalem where they destroyed the temple in AD 70, and they got Jews to come up here and finish building the ramp, and the people at the top of Masada would not kill their fellow Jews. And so imagine yourselves up here, 967 in total, men, women, and children, watching day by day by day as the siege ramp being built by Jewish slaves gets closer and closer and closer to the place where they'll be able to get their armaments here and break down the wall that you've built. So you build the wooden wall as you saw in the movie, and they are able to break through it with fire. And finally they break through the barricades so that those who are up here know that the next day the Romans will be coming through. They know what the Romans did in Jerusalem. They know what they've done to the temple there. The revolt that started in Caesarea by the sea, where we began our tour AD 66, by zealots, Sicarii, many of them have retreated up here. After the fall of Jerusalem in AD 70, those that survived, many of them have retreated up here as well. They know what the Romans are going to do to them. They know what they will do to their wives and to their children and to the men. And they have a decision to make here, whether they will be enslaved or whether they will die. And that's the setting of one of the most historic events, not only in Jewish history, but I think in human history. It's April 15th, AD 73. It's that evening. The Roman 10th Legion, led by Lucius Flavius Silva, 4,800 soldiers, and 4,000 conscripts, slaves, auxiliary, have created the walls around Masada to prevent anyone here from fleeing. They have built the siege ramp. They have broken through the wall. And the next day they will come. Eliezer ben Yair is the leader of the rebels here. He gathers the entire band together. And he makes a speech. You might wonder how we know the speech. It's because 2 women and 5 children hid during the siege of the Romans the next day in a storeroom. They were there and heard the speech and were later captured by the Romans, and Josephus, the first century Jewish historian, gets the speech from them of what was said. In their day, written literature was very difficult for people, but oral tradition was very important. People had a great ability to remember speeches, things that were said. And that's how we have confidence in the record of the speech that was made that day. As Eliezer ben Yair gathers together the men, women, and children who have been here, who have been besieged for 3 years. And that night of April the 15th, he says to them, "O loyal followers, long ago we resolved not to be subject to the Romans, nor to any man, but to God alone, who is the only true and just Lord of all that is. Now the time has come for us to make our resolution true in practice. We were the first to revolt against the Romans. We are the last to fight against them. And I cannot but consider it a favor God has bestowed upon us, that it is still in our power to die bravely in a state of freedom, such as was not the case with those who were conquered unexpectedly. There is no doubt but that tomorrow the Romans will come. But it is still in our power to die gloriously, together with our dearest friends. This the Romans cannot prevent, even though they would desperately wish to take us alive. So let our wives die before they are abused, our children before they have tasted slavery. And after we have slain them, let us bestow this glorious benefit upon one another and die in freedom as a lasting memorial to ourselves. But first, let us burn the fortress and the money, as I am well assured this will be a great grief to the Romans, who will not be able to seize our bodies or our money, but let us preserve our provisions, as they will be a testimony after we are gone, that we did not die for want of necessities, but rather, as was our original commitment, we chose death before slavery. So imagine the scene. As husbands help their wives and their children to lay down on the ground. Suicide is forbidden in Judaism. So the husbands then take their swords and they slit the wives and the children's throats. And then they cast lots. 10 are chosen by lot. The rest of the men lay down beside their wives and their children, and the 10 slit their throats. And then they use lots again, and 1 is chosen. The other 9 lay down beside their families, and they are killed. And then the 1 takes his life. And the next morning, when the Roman 10th Legion, the feared 10th Legion, storms into Masada, they find 2 women and 5 children. All the rest had chosen death before slavery. That's why Israel says Masada shall never fall again. That's why. The biblical significance of this place to me is found most fully in Romans chapter 12, where the Apostle Paul says to us, I beseech you therefore, brothers. Beseech in the original language is to beg. I implore you therefore, brothers, by the mercies of God, by all that God has done for you, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy, pleasing to God, as your spiritual act of worship. Be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your minds, that you may test and approve God's good, pleasing, and perfect will for your life. If we would be followers of Jesus, we must come to our own Masada every day. It is one thing to die for Jesus. It is another to live for Him. To begin every day by presenting your body a living sacrifice. Not a dead sacrifice, a living sacrifice. Every day, present your bodies a living sacrifice. Holy, pleasing to God. That is worship. That is your spiritual act of worship. God measures worship not by how many people come to church, but by how many people come to Christ. Have you done that today? Have you chosen, as Paul said, to be crucified with Christ today? Have you taken up your cross today? Have you come to your Masada today? I hope that for the rest of your lives, if you would make God your king, you would remember this place. And you would choose every day as the day begins to make that day your Masada, and to present your life as a living sacrifice to the one who died for you. You have come to the place that shall never fall again as long as Israel stands, so that you can, every day, fall before the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Otherwise, you will be enslaved, not to the Romans, but to the evil one and the sins and the temptations of this fallen world. And so every single day you must choose, as Eliezer ben Yair said, you must every day choose death over slavery. There is no third option. Let's pray together. Take this moment, if you would, at this Masada, and present your body as a living sacrifice to your King of Kings. Surrender your life, your plans, your ambitions, your marriage, your family, your hopes, your dreams, your possessions. Put all of that in the hands of the God who loves you. who died that you might live. Make your Masada in your own heart. This moment of this day, I invite you. Father, at this place where 20 centuries ago, nearly 1,000 people chose to die rather than be enslaved, I choose to die that I might live. I choose death over slavery. I choose death to myself that I might be surrendered to you as my King. We make this our commitment together. In the name and by the grace of the one who died for us, even Jesus our Lord. Amen. Ty?
To live is Christ, and to die is gain. To suffer with Him, I know that I shall reign in His arms over there in the land bright and fair. To live is Christ, oh Christ, and to die is gain. To suffer with Him and to feel His pain, to carry my cross is the reason why He came, just to save my soul and to make me whole. To live is Christ, oh Christ, and to die is
Okay, thank you. Let me just show you what we're going to do.